Everything began with a mobile game that suddenly popped up on my phone screen, a small game called Zombie War. Out of curiosity, I tapped it open and found the gameplay surprisingly novel, so I casually recharged 10 yuan to do a triple draw, never expecting my luck to explode. I actually pulled 3 copies of the limited item, the Resurrection Armor. Congratulations on obtaining the ultimate item, Resurrection Armor. Grants 1 chance at rebirth, a real-life version of a regret pill. But, please note, this item does not guarantee clearance. Players must struggle to survive with all their strength. Warning: abusing the item will increase the difficulty of the run. If you fail to clear after 3 uses, Hell Mode will be activated. Back then, the Zombie King Academy wanted to invite friends to try it together, but none of them could even find this game or its items. So after binding it, I didn't think much of it. I never imagined that a virtual game item could actually take effect in reality. Not long after, the zombie crisis erupted right on schedule, and I truly resurrected. Welcome to Panda's Storyboard. Put on your headphones, get cozy, and settle in. Let's enjoy this story together. If you like it, don't forget to subscribe and give the video a like. Now, let's begin. Still shaken, I unlocked my phone and saw in the game interface that 1 Resurrection Armor had already been consumed. That was when I was certain I had truly returned for the second time, back to before the disaster descended. The date was July 15th. I had only 1 day left. There was no time to dwell on the agony of my previous life's final moments. I immediately called my parents, my tone urgent yet resolute, urging them to stockpile supplies and find a high place far from crowds to take refuge. Our family had always been harmonious and democratic, and just like last time, they didn't question me at all, agreeing at once to act immediately and to report their safety in the family group chat at regular intervals. After hesitating briefly, I turned on my computer and left an emergency message for my online game friend, Randy. This had been my greatest regret in my previous life. Stockpile supplies. Find a safe place to hide. A major event is coming. Do not spread this message. As soon as I sent it, I grabbed my phone and sprinted out of the dorm. Panting heavily, I ran all the way to the 8th floor of the Research Institute, where I saw 2 other figures, just as drenched in sweat, Mindy and Alex. They were my last teammates in the previous life, the ones who fought side by side with me until the end. Perhaps influenced by me, they too had been reborn. The first time the zombie outbreak happened, I had been attacked the moment I stepped out of the dorm. In my previous life, that second run, I was reborn with memories, but my roommates didn't believe me, refused to stockpile supplies or survive together with me, and even spread word of my nonsense to the counselor. He warned me not to spread rumors, or I would be punished. In the end, they all met misfortune on their trains home. Alone and limited in strength, targeted by the counselor, I managed to stockpile only a small amount of supplies, let alone reinforce doors and windows. After barely holding out in the dorm for over 10 days, I ran out of food and ammunition, and relying solely on the luck of drawing the Resurrection Armor, I dodged zombies all the way to the Research Institute building, where I finally met Mindy and Alex, who had also fled there. The outbreak coincided with the end of final exams, and aside from students preparing for graduate school or civil service exams, most had already planned to go home, which greatly eased our struggle to survive. Now, this was the 3rd time we had to live. With the tacit understanding forged by fighting together in the last life, the 3 of us quickly reached a unified battle plan. First, reinforce doors and windows. I laid out tasks rapidly. The main entrance of the Research Institute and the emergency passage doors on the 8th floor all had to be reinforced. This is for stockpiling supplies, I said, handing things over. These are the student union car keys. You 2 drive out to the large warehouse supermarket off campus to purchase supplies. The school convenience store has too little. Leave that for others to survive on. I'll meet up with you after I finish reinforcing the doors and windows. If anyone asks, just say it's for summer practice activities. And we should buy seeds. The rooftop has an abandoned experimental field where we can grow vegetables. Alex, a student of the Research Institute, knew the building layout like the back of his hand. Don't forget weapons, Mindy added. I know an outdoor equipment specialty store. We can buy some self-defense gear there. There was no time to waste, and the 3 of us immediately split up. Using the money my parents had just transferred to me, I urgently contacted off-campus workers and had them reinforce the institute's main entrance, escape routes, and windows, replacing all glass with bank counter-grade bulletproof glass, adding one-way film, and installing protective bars outside. I deliberately paid double wages and demanded that the work be completed by noon. The workers added manpower and guaranteed completion on time. The school was preparing to build a new teaching building during the summer, so there were plenty of workers around these days, with no risk of raising suspicion. Moreover, it was research month, and as the school's flagship discipline, most research institute professors were away attending academic conferences, leaving the entire building largely empty. When occasional administrative staff asked questions, I used the names of the student union and youth league instructors to smooth things over without issue. Taking advantage of the reinforcement work, I used a pre-prepared fake materials requisition form with a responsible teacher's pre-signature to collect 2 large barrels of diesel from the school office. The Research Institute rooftop had its own generator and solar panels. The diesel was for backup power. After that, I rode a tricycle and moved everything the student union could spare to our base: baseball bats, bows and arrows, high-powered binoculars, walkie-talkies, foldable spring beds from the prop room, emergency medical kits, the electric cooker I used to boil instant noodles, high-lumen flashlights, solar power banks. Whether we needed them now or not, I took everything. At that point, I was the only one left in the dorm, so I swept up all remaining food, daily necessities, and prohibited electrical appliances, and brought them back to the Research Institute. In my previous life, I had been the last of the 3 to hold out, and I knew all too well how maddening it was to survive the apocalypse without spiritual sustenance. So I also went to the library and hauled back 2 entire bookshelves of books. By the time I finished all this, the door and window reinforcement work had just been completed. After paying the workers, I urged them to hurry home, warning that the epidemic might rebound and they should stockpile food. Then, I rushed to meet Mindy and Alex. Alex was a bona fide little rich girl, providing our apocalyptic survival with formidable, superpower-level financial support. As I inventoried the supplies, I found them comprehensive and abundant. Bedding, multiple thick and thin blankets, underwear, socks, pajamas in standard sizes, electric blankets, heat packs, down jackets, thermal underwear for extreme weather, laundry detergent, toothpaste, sanitary pads, toilet paper, towels, shampoo, body wash, toothbrushes, soap. We had also bought massive amounts of food: rice, flour, oil, meat, frozen dumplings, frozen wontons, frozen meatballs, sliced beef and lamb rolls, cakes, milk, large barrels of mineral water, chocolate, Snickers, chips, beef jerky, long-storing vegetables, sausages, instant noodles, self-heating hot pots, self-heating rice, and a full range of seasonings: soy sauce, vinegar, cooking wine, salt, pepper, chili paste, and hot pot base. For medicine, we could only get antibiotics, anti-inflammatory drugs, and anti-diarrheal medication. Passing the supplements counter, I added vitamins, fever reducers, cold medicine, and antiviral drugs to the cart. But due to epidemic purchase limits, we had to give up some items. Alex also grabbed 6 ice packs, 4 barrels of medical alcohol, plenty of Band-Aids and gauze, saying that if sanitary pads ran out, gauze and plant ash could be used in emergencies like the ancients. I felt we'd probably never need that. But still, although the Research Institute building had a small research kitchen, we still bought backup induction cookers, rice cookers, woks, and a microwave. The supermarket offered home delivery. I had already coordinated with the gate guard and wrote the address for the delivery driver. Seeing a truckload of goods, the supermarket manager was so shocked his mouth hung open, unable to believe that 3 female college students could buy so much. To avoid suspicion, I deliberately asked for invoices, claiming we were student union leaders purchasing materials for school activities. After all, a school with tens of thousands of people would need this much. The manager quickly believed it, since few students could produce that much money at once, all thanks to our superpower user, Alex. After leaving the supermarket, we went straight to the market and outdoor gear store. Alex and I bought seeds, while Mindy handled self-defense equipment. Rushing against time, we finally returned to campus before nightfall. After a full day of frantic work, none of us felt sleepy, immediately starting to sort supplies. Alex and I selected easy-to-grow short-cycle vegetable seeds: chives, cherry tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, ginger, scallions, potatoes, leafy greens, coriander, bok choy, romaine, soybeans for sprouting, and finally onions and lettuce, some for eating, some for planting. I'd heard that potted onions could even disinfect and prevent colds. Despite his name, Mindy was anything but quiet. He was a tall, well-built student from the physical education track and field program, and in both this life and the last, he was our main combat force. The haul he brought back from the outdoor store left me dumbfounded. Combat shovels, camping knives, climbing claws, folding knives, spiked clubs, stun flashlights, military coats, solid fuel, windproof lighters, charcoal, solar emergency lamps, portable windproof stoves, military thermos bottles, small flamethrowers, nylon rope, multifunctional hammers, antennas, radios, glow sticks. He even knew how to set up antennas. I couldn't help sighing that in the last life, he'd never had the chance to shine. Otherwise, Mindy's solo combat ability would have been terrifying. To avoid attention, we had the supermarket seal everything in large cardboard boxes, which also meant it took quite some time to unpack. Alex cleared out several laboratories, using freezers and refrigerators meant for petri dishes and reagents to store food. When I worried about contamination, she laughed and said those reagents were far more precious than us humans. Fair enough. We humans apparently didn't deserve it. By the time we finished the initial organization, it was already 3:30 a.m. Still wide awake, the three of us crowded by the window, quietly waiting for dawn, or for the disaster to arrive. Either way, in this life, we were fully prepared. We would survive. Based on last life's experience, the zombie outbreak would occur around 11:30 a.m., with the first mutation happening to a security guard at the gate. Guards patrolled campus twice daily and held keys to the main entrance. And while we didn't know which guard would mutate first, to prevent students from alerting them after finding the doors locked, we devised a meticulous plan. We made a sign in advance, reading "Internal disinfection in progress, do not enter," and placed it at the Research Institute entrance. I monitored the first floor through binoculars the entire time. At 9:45, the two cleaners who ignored the sign left the building. After confirming we were the only ones inside, I gave Mindy an OK sign. The plan was for him to lock the main entrance, then for us to jointly lock the two reinforced doors on the 8th floor, completing our apocalyptic fortress. We sent Mindy because we'd cut elevator power the night before, and Alex and I, used to desk work, lacked the stamina to sprint up and down 8 floors without exhausting ourselves. At 9:48, as I scanned with binoculars, I noticed a male student sitting on a bench at the basketball court, head lowered as if looking at his phone. Something felt off, though I couldn't pinpoint why. The next second, he convulsed violently and collapsed. And when someone approached to check on him, he bit straight into their face, blood spraying as screams erupted instantly. Something was wrong. This was different from last time. The zombie crisis had erupted early. Mindy had only just gone downstairs. Alex and I rushed to the 8th floor emergency passage. I stopped Mindy and had him stand guard at the door. When reinforcing the doors, I deliberately changed the outer door to push outward from the inside. Fireproof, soundproof, and extremely heavy, requiring someone to brace it, saving precious time if zombies pursued us. I grabbed a baseball bat and sprinted downstairs without looking back. "If we don't come back, Alex, lock the door and live on. You must come back. I'll wait for you, I swear," Alex cried, bracing the door with her body. I took the stairs 3 at a time and saw a male zombie, over 1.8 meters tall, lunging at Mindy. Mindy blasted it with a fire extinguisher, but the zombie only paused for an instant before attacking again. In crisis, people unleash unexpected strength. I don't know where my courage or power came from, but I rushed in and smashed the back of its knee with all my might. The zombie toppled toward me, a thick stench hitting my face. Mindy shoved me aside, snatched the bat, and brought it down on the zombie's head. Once, twice, 3 times, until it finally stopped moving. We didn't dare linger. Before more zombies arrived, we slammed the door shut and locked it. The instant the door closed, a half-bloodied, horrifying-looking girl slammed into the glass, pounding desperately. "Let me in, please, classmate. Let me in. I'm still..." My strength had already been drained during the dash downstairs and the fight with the zombies. My legs gave out, and I was about to collapse when Mindy caught me in time. As we went back upstairs, Mindy said softly, She's already been bitten. I swallowed, the metallic taste rising in my throat from running too fast, and nodded. Yes, I know. We didn't do anything wrong. We both understood that under the apocalypse, the only one who could save you was yourself. Blind kindness would not only destroy you, it would also drag your teammates down. With the bloody lesson of our previous life etched into our bones, the only people we could trust were each other. We locked the 2 security doors on the 8th floor and wound iron wire tightly around the elevator doors. Only then were we temporarily safe. When Alex saw us crawl back up covered in blood, she burst into tears, thinking we had been bitten. Only after learning that it was zombie blood did she finally let out a breath. I asked her why she still let us in if she thought we were infected. Through tears, she said, "We agreed from the start. This time, not a single one of us is allowed to be missing." A warm current surged through my chest. In the apocalypse, what was most precious was still humanity and genuine emotion. Yet, the moment of emotion lasted less than a minute. Alex suddenly screamed and lunged forward, grabbing Mindy, who was still swinging her baseball bat, to loosen up. "Ah! You splashed zombie blood all over my face. I'm going to strangle you." What followed was much like our previous life. The school quickly turned into a purgatory of zombies. Bloody, wandering student corpses were everywhere on campus. The girl who had just begged us for help had completely mutated and was now crouched on the ground, gnawing on a male student's corpse. Although the life sciences building had been reinforced by us until it was like an iron fortress, the sudden chaos made us realize that many things might start to change. Just in case, we decided to set up a duty roster and take turns standing guard. Fortunately, the zombies' sensitivity to light and sound hadn't changed. After nightfall, their movements slowed noticeably, so we adopted a routine of activity during the day and rest at night. On the 3rd day after the outbreak, we finally saw living people other than ourselves. While I was on watch during the day, I saw a drone fly out from the chemistry building. A small loudspeaker hung beneath it, blasting Little Apple at full volume. Nearby zombies were gradually drawn by the sound, and the drone herded them away like livestock. Soon after, 2 boys wrapped up tightly ran out of the chemistry building toward the residential area. Not long later, they returned, one of them carrying a huge woven sack on his shoulder. They repeated the trip twice more, bringing back a considerable amount of supplies. The person piloting the drone was highly skilled, guiding the zombies precisely to designated spots every time. I remembered that in my previous life, there had been no survivors in the chemistry building. It seemed that many things were quietly deviating from their original paths. Still, seeing familiar human faces in the apocalypse was, no matter what, a symbol of hope. Alex and I were physically weaker, and our stock of medicine was limited. We only had a little cold and fever medicine left from before. If anyone got sick, the consequences would be unimaginable. To strengthen our bodies, Mindy began leading us in morning exercises. Every morning, Alex would make each of us a bowl of oatmeal. After eating, we'd run laps around the rooftop vegetable patch. "Come on, lift your knees, swing your arms faster." Mindy held a pointer, and whenever someone lagged behind, she'd jab them in the backside. Training our bodies on a rooftop, surrounded by zombie-infested buildings, was surreal beyond words. But thanks to Coach Wen's strict demands, our physical condition finally improved. Though we still couldn't confront zombies head-on like Mindy, at least we could escape safely when danger came. The Life Sciences building was the tallest structure on campus, so we didn't worry about being spotted by ill-intentioned people. Once we realized this, we spent more time on the rooftop. I set up a large sun umbrella I'd taken from the student union. During the day, I sat beneath it, observing the situation below, reading when there was nothing urgent. Mindy carried her baseball bat and entrenching shovel, patrolling the entire 8th floor daily. Alex tended his vegetable patch with a small watering can, cherishing the seedlings like treasures once they sprouted. I fiddled with the radio under the umbrella, but it was always filled with monotonous static, no useful information at all. A drone approached silently and accidentally snagged on the rooftop railing. Alex and I exchanged a glance, grabbed a stick, and hooked down a plastic bag from the drone's clasp. Inside were a pack of spicy strips and several packets of dried fish. Sure enough, they were from the chemistry building boys we'd seen earlier. They were graduate students from the chemistry department. One of them was sick and asked whether we had any medicine, saying they were willing to trade supplies. After discussing it, we decided to give them some antibiotics and cold medicine. In the apocalypse, humanity could only go farther by supporting one another. The drone left with the medicine and soon returned with a box. Inside were several spherical objects labeled invincible incendiary bombs, supposedly concocted by them, useful for drawing zombies' attention in emergencies. Setting practicality aside, the name alone was dripping with adolescent bravado. Half amused and half nervous, we stored the bombs away. Alex opened the spicy strips and dried fish, making wraps for us. The three of us ate with great satisfaction. From then on, we exchanged supplies with the chemistry building boys several more times, getting along quite well. On the night of the 10th day after the outbreak, I was sleeping soundly when Alex shook me awake. His face was ashen as he gestured for me to look out the window. At the entrance on the first floor, there was a figure prying at the reinforced door. I picked up the binoculars and froze. It was Emily. She was the one who had killed us in our previous life. In our previous life, we had fled to the life sciences building in haste, our supplies pitifully scarce. Even so, we had taken Emily in. Emily was a well-known beauty from the Physical Education Institute's gymnastics program, slender and flexible, often appearing on the campus confession wall. She changed boyfriends frequently, all of them wealthy young men from outside the school. She claims that when the outbreak happened, she and her boyfriend had been staying in the campus hotel and hadn't gone out, narrowly escaping disaster. But as food dwindled, the man's true nature emerged. He abandoned her and forced her to go out alone to search for supplies. The outside world was so dangerous that even male students dared not venture out easily, let alone a frail girl like Emily. It was nothing short of sending her to her death. We sympathized deeply and let her settle with us, but it didn't take long before something felt wrong. Not long after she arrived, Alex told me gravely that our food consumption was abnormally fast. Even with one extra person, it shouldn't have been that bad. At this rate, we wouldn't last a month. We had to do something. Emily took the initiative and suggested going out with Mindy to look for supplies. She said she was the class life committee member and that leftover food from previous activities was stored in a nearby classroom. She could take Mindy there to move it. Mindy was strong in combat, so we agreed. But in the end, only Emily came back. When we opened the protective door, she collapsed inside, covered in blood. My heart clenched as I urgently asked about Mindy. She cried and said Mindy had been attacked by zombies while saving her. After being bitten, Mindy mutated quickly. She was powerless to help and could only bring back Mindy's backpack and baseball bat. It's all my fault. I wanted to take more supplies and went too far. If Mindy hadn't tried to save me, she sobbed pitifully, looking utterly fragile. Yet if she truly couldn't save Mindy, how did she still have the time to retrieve Mindy's supplies and weapon? It was far too suspicious. Alex didn't believe her story at all. He came out of the lab and handed me a set of test data. There's something wrong with Emily. The blood on the baseball bat isn't zombie blood, it's human. Emily fell to her knees, crying bitterly as she argued that the blood had splashed onto the bat when zombies bit Mindy. She swore she had never harmed a teammate, or else she deserved to be thrown into a horde of zombies. To prove her innocence, she even volunteered to go out alone the next day to find supplies for us. But that very night, Emily fled with most of our supplies. Worse still, she smeared Mindy's blood all over the stairwell, luring in massive numbers of zombies. Alex and I fought desperately just to survive the attack. But that night, Alex discovered a dark bruise on her arm. She didn't tell me and left quietly on her own. In the end, I was left alone, meeting my end in loneliness and despair. Thinking of this, hatred ground my teeth together. In this life, I would never let her succeed again. This time, we decided to give Emily a grand gift. There were ready-made blood packs in the lab, and I still had a DJI drone taken from the student union. Alex soaked a towel with blood, and under cover of night, piloted the drone to lower it slowly. The thick stench of blood quickly attracted nearby zombies. Emily fled and panicked, while we remotely followed her with the drone, deliberately flying low and dripping blood from the towel onto her. In the end, she gritted her teeth, threw her backpack to the ground, and dashed straight into the chemistry building across the way without looking back. Considering that there were survivors over there, we recalled the drone. That wretch really was lucky. Mindy, the most direct victim in our previous life, said angrily, "Don't worry, we have the absolute upper hand now. She won't get away," I replied. I took out my phone and used AirDrop to send a screenshot note to the other side. It was a communication method discovered by a boy named Jason. I didn't mention our past life grudges, only briefly warned them that based on our understanding of Emily, she was very likely to repeat her old tricks. Sure enough, Emily fabricated a tragic story for herself. With her pretty face added to the mix, she quickly won over a boy's heart. One day, fierce arguing erupted in the chemistry building. Leon grabbed Murad by the collar, roaring, "A friend's girlfriend is off limits. Do you even understand that?" Emily hid weakly to the side, tears streaming as she pleaded, "Brother, forget it. Don't ruin your friendship over me. Brother Muyang probably didn't mean to touch me." Her words were heartfelt, yet her body made no move to stop the fight. Murad was livid, his face flushed red as he shouted, "I didn't touch her at all. Leon, don't be fooled by this woman. When she first arrived, she hinted that she could get close to me. Ask Jason. She tried to seduce him too. She's not a good person. Don't you dare talk about my girlfriend like that." Leon, as if struck at his weakest point, raised his fist to punch Murad. Jason, who had been watching silently, stepped forward to stop him. "Enough, Chao," he said coldly, his gaze piercing behind his glasses. "We all know old Wang. He's not that kind of person. Of course, I'm not accusing your girlfriend either. This ends here. Don't bring it up again. And don't forget, it was old Wang who warned you on the day the outbreak began." Leon opened his mouth, then, unwillingly, lowered his fist. That night, after Leon had just finished an intimate moment and was wiping himself with a towel, Emily suddenly began to sob softly. He hurriedly pulled her into his arms and asked what was wrong. He had long heard of Emily's reputation. Before the outbreak, she wouldn't have spared a glance for an ordinary guy like him, let alone be this close. Sometimes, he even felt that the zombie outbreak might not have been entirely bad. Through her tears, Emily said, "Brother, I'm really scared. Today Murad threatened me, saying that while you were asleep, I should go to his room and serve him and Jason. I refused, and he said you were useless, that you couldn't even protect your own girlfriend. He said food was running out anyway, and that we'd all be thrown out to feed the zombies." Leon flew into a rage and jumped to his feet, ready to confront Murad and Jason. But Emily stopped him. "Brother, since they're being heartless, we don't need to be polite. Why don't we strike first?" Seeing Leon hesitate, she put on a self-sacrificing expression, covering her face as she cried, "Brother, if you're unwilling, it's fine. I'll go serve the two of them. As long as you can live, I'll do anything." Leon panted heavily, torn inside. There were 3 people in the research group. Jason was handsome, academically outstanding, winning scholarships every year, and highly valued by their advisor, always listed as second author on papers. Murad had secured a guaranteed postgraduate spot, and was the captain of the school basketball team, pursued by countless girls. They shone so brightly. And him? He had struggled through 2 years of postgraduate exams, barely scraping by. His luck with women and his family background were nothing compared to theirs. Next to them, he was like a rat hiding in the shadows. Though it was true that Murad and Jason had saved him on the day of the outbreak, they had gone too far now. Thinking of how he had always looked up to them, Leon's heart twisted. Jacob finally made up his mind. Under the cover of night, he slipped quietly into the dispensary, took a bottle of sedative, soaked it into a piece of cloth, and then crept toward the door of Jason and Murad's room. But when he pushed the door open, the bed was empty. As confusion set in, someone suddenly covered his mouth and nose from behind. Jacob's heart jolted. Before he could react, darkness swallowed his consciousness. Alex, Mindy, and I had already prepared sunflower seeds and drinks, lying by the window and watching with great interest the latest updates set by Officer Kim. Mindy clicked her tongue in amazement, saying that if Emily's tricks had existed in ancient times, she would have been a calamity-level femme fatale. Rumors had always said she was being kept by someone, and Mindy hadn't believed it before, but now she was completely convinced. "I know that Jacob," Alex said disdainfully, curling her lip. "Didn't expect him to be this stupid. A fool really is the perfect match for a bad woman." My phone vibrated with a new message from Officer Kim. I smiled, stretched lazily, and said, "All right, sisters, it's our turn to take the stage." Jason and the others acted decisively, knocking Emily and Jacob unconscious and throwing them out directly. After waking up, the two panicked and pleaded desperately through the door, showering Jason with flattery. When begging proved useless, Emily came up with another malicious idea. Under her instigation, Leon really did plan to come over and rob us of our supplies. They took a fire axe off the wall. Be careful, Officer Kim warned us. I sneered softly. Whether they could even make it over was another matter entirely. Between the chemistry building and the life sciences building lay a basketball court. It was deep into the night, and the zombies were motionless, sprawled on the ground. The two of them advanced cautiously and soon reached the middle of the court. Just then, something suddenly fell from the sky and slammed into the ground in front of them with a loud bang. Flames and a blinding white light instantly turned the basketball court bright as day. The surrounding zombies were immediately drawn in, converging on the pair. "Damn it, it's Jason's magnesium bomb," Emily screamed. "It burns for a long time. Run back." But before they could even turn around, another magnesium bomb fell behind them. Zombies bared their teeth and claws, surging in from all directions. Leon no longer bothered with any pretense of tenderness. He shoved Emily straight into the zombie horde and bolted forward on his own. But he hadn't run more than a few steps when someone grabbed his leg. Emily lay on the ground, covered in blood, her once beautiful face completely obscured, no trace of her former allure remaining. Gritting her teeth, she hissed, "Don't even think about abandoning me," and running. The zombies swarmed over them, and in moments, both were completely devoured. Emily had finally fulfilled her vow from the previous life, ending up buried in a pile of zombies. After the zombies finished off Emily and Leon, we officially formed an alliance with the remaining boys from the chemistry building. However, there were only 2 of them left now, making scavenging extremely inconvenient. We proactively offered to use drones to lure zombies away, helping them stockpile enough supplies to survive the winter. To thank us, Officer Kim gave us some chemical reagents and magnesium bombs again, repeatedly emphasizing that they were invincible incendiary weapons. The 3 of us laughed and tacitly chose to ignore him. By the 3rd month after the outbreak, the school was completely cut off. No internet, no water, no electricity. Fortunately, the rooftop of the life sciences building had generators and solar equipment. And later, we also found a water filtration device that could purify rainwater, so life was still manageable. It was just that after the internet went down, communication with Officer Kim's side became more difficult. Thankfully, Mindy had prepared radio equipment in advance, and we sent them a walkie-talkie via drone, solving the problem. The weather grew colder and colder. By October, the temperature had already dropped to around 10 degrees. To prepare for extreme weather, we took out quilts, padded jackets, and hand warmers early. Alex even set up a greenhouse outside her vegetable plot to protect the seedlings from frost. After it got cold, we rarely went up to the rooftop anymore. Physical training and guard duty were moved indoors. One-way film was applied to the bulletproof glass, making it pitch black from the outside and eliminating the risk of being spotted. At dawn one morning, a few students sneaked over from the dormitory area, apparently hoping to scavenge supplies from the campus store. They hadn't gone far when wandering zombies pounced on them. Shrill screams and agonized cries echoed across the campus, carrying far into the distance. There were fewer and fewer living people left in the school. This had become an unspoken truth everyone understood. Holding a cup of hot tea, Alex gazed at the gray sky outside and subtly asked, "Do you think someone will come to rescue us?" Mindy, binoculars in hand, immediately replied, "There are vehicles coming in." 2 off-road vehicles barreled through the school gate, snapping the guardrails. Several adult men jumped out, wielding machetes and axes, looking professionally trained. They quickly cleared out a classroom as a rest area, then headed straight for the campus broadcasting station, slaughtering zombies along the way, as easily as cutting vegetables. "Attention, all survivors. We are from the military. Please gather at the library tomorrow night, or send out your location signal. We will escort you to a survivor resettlement area." A rough male voice boomed from the loudspeakers. Mindy grew excited and was about to open the window to wave at them, but Alex and I stopped her in time. "They're not wearing uniforms. Something feels off. Let's wait and see." Though they all had buzz cuts and wore black tactical outfits and combat boots, the aura they gave off was unsettling. Later, I realized that aura had a name. It was banditry. We asked Officer Kim's group for their opinion over the walkie-talkie, and they also suggested observing for now. So we waited quietly for nightfall. As soon as the sun set, scattered students carrying bulging backpacks made their way to the library. They were sallow and listless, yet their eyes shone brightly with hope for imminent rescue. By 9 o'clock, After the broadcast looped several more times, and no one else arrived, those men suddenly donned gas masks and tossed a smoke grenade into the crowd. The campus instantly filled with panicked screams. Perhaps afraid the noise would attract more zombies, they knocked out any students who were still conscious. Then they began searching them one by one, throwing all the supplies onto the vehicles, even forcibly pushing the girls onto the trucks. Some even took advantage of the chaos to grope the girls. They really were imposters. Cold sweat broke out all over us. Unsure whether they would conduct a carpet search of the campus, we decided to drive them away. We quickly discussed countermeasures with Officer Kim's group. Alex repeated her old trick, sending out drones carrying snow towels, and together the two drones lured a massive number of zombies toward the library. Though those men were trained, they couldn't withstand such overwhelming numbers. They soon scrambled back into their vehicles and fled the school. The next day, we saw the students who had gone to the library the night before, now among the zombie horde. Mindy remained silent for a long time, then decided to add 4 more sets of frog jumps to our physical training. The cold grew even harsher. Alex checked the outdoor thermometer. It read -20 degrees. Our city was in the south and had never experienced such a frigid winter. The Life Sciences building had central air conditioning, but to save power, we didn't dare turn it on. Burning charcoal was out of the question as well, for fear of carbon monoxide poisoning. Alex brought out all the thick quilts. Each of us slept under 2, with electric blankets and heat packs, yet our feet were still icy. Mindy suggested moving around more to generate heat, but after jumping around indoors for only a short while, we were already shivering and hurried back into bed. While we could barely endure the cold ourselves, we were even more worried about Officer Kim and Murad across the way, so we sent them 2 packs of hand warmers by drone. The vegetables grown outdoors were all frozen, and Alex was heartbroken. That night she held me and cried for the first time. "Amanda, do you think we won't live to see rescue?" I hugged her tightly, pulled the quilt higher around her neck, and comforted her softly. "No, we will. I promise you." But the very next morning, disaster struck. Mindy developed a fever. Alex rummaged through the medicine box and told me with a grave expression that we only had 1 dose of fever reducer left. Mindy was delirious with fever. We tried several times to give him the medicine, but failed every time. We could only wipe his body with alcohol to lower his temperature physically. After a day, Mindy regained a bit of clarity, and we hurriedly fed him the medicine and cooked some light porridge. After eating, he seemed slightly better, but his temperature still wouldn't come down. We realized this couldn't continue. We had to go out and find more medicine for Mindy. The campus clinic was on the other side of the school. Without Mindy, our strongest fighter, could Alex and I really complete the mission? We sent a request for help to Jason and Murad, already prepared to be refused. We couldn't force others to risk their lives for us. To our surprise, they agreed readily and quickly devised a detailed plan. After 4 months, we finally met our allies face to face. Jason wore glasses, his exposed skin pale, eyes narrow, unexpectedly handsome. Murad had big eyes and a tall, upright build, the very image of a sunny, cheerful young man. As for Alex and me, Mindy had forcibly stuffed us into thick military coats, wrapping us up tightly like 2 waddling penguins. I even suspected that if a zombie knocked me down, it wouldn't be able to find where to bite. Jason's plan was to cut through the garden behind the chemistry building, reach the administrative building, then climb over the wall ladder there to get directly to the clinic, shortest route, lowest chance of encountering zombies. I couldn't help but complain inwardly. No zombie climbs rooftops anyway. What is this, Plants vs. Zombies? Still, I had to admit his plan really was the most efficient. Mindy used the drone to draw zombies away while we sprinted into the garden. Just as Jason had said, there were many bushes and only a few zombies wandering aimlessly. Jason and Murad dealt with them swiftly, using entrenching shovels, making Alex and me sigh at how wonderful it was to have powerful teammates. The journey went smoothly until we reached the administrative building. But the wall ladder there was badly rusted, creaking loudly underfoot. In the -20-degree cold, the metal was biting cold, as if it would freeze your hands to it. With the 2 men's help, Alex and I climbed up in terror. The noise attracted zombies below, who howled and clawed wildly. I shut my eyes tight, too scared to look down. By the time we made it over, my clothes were soaked with cold sweat. The clinic ahead looked like a scene straight out of a horror game, dark, eerie, and blood-soaked. Before the outbreak, many students had been sent here for food poisoning, meaning there could be a large number of zombies inside. With no cover nearby, we couldn't use the drone luring tactic. After I voiced my concerns, Jason analyzed that most food poisoning patients would have been in the second-floor observation rooms, while the first-floor pharmacy likely wouldn't have many zombies. We decided Murad would keep watch at the door. If anything went wrong, he would climb back to the administrative building and use the drone to lure zombies away, while the rest of us rushed in and out quickly. Though it was daytime, the clinic was dim, cold, and oppressive. A flashlight beam suddenly illuminated a human figure, and my heart nearly leapt out of my chest. "Just a mannequin," Jason whispered. Turning around, he saw Alex, who had nearly screamed and was now choking himself red-faced, eyes almost rolling back. We moved cautiously through the clinic. At a restroom corner, we encountered a zombie in a hospital gown. Jason tossed a ping-pong ball inside. The zombie followed the sound, and he immediately locked the door from outside. For a moment, I didn't know whether to curse Jason for being heartless or admire his quick thinking. Perhaps because these zombies had been patients in life, their mobility after turning was relatively weak. With few survivors daring to come here, they had little chance to feed and moved sluggishly. Gradually, we realized their attack power wasn't strong, and Alex and I were no longer as terrified as before. After what felt like an entire century, we finally reached the pharmacy door. It was ajar, smeared with dark red blood. Our hearts leapt into our throats again, as Jason raised his entrenching shovel and stepped forward to push the door open. We rushed inside and saw several mutilated bodies lying on the ground, gnawed beyond recognition. Officer Kim signaled to us, urging us to load the medicine quickly, and Alex swiftly located the pharmacy counter, efficiently stuffing all kinds of needed drugs into his backpack. Beside the medicine cabinet was a freezer containing injectable vials, and I casually grabbed a dose as well. As I focused on packing the syringes, a chilling realization suddenly struck me. If the zombies in the infirmary had never preyed on living people, then how could these half-eaten corpses on the floor exist? This was bad. This place was very likely a zombie cafeteria. Logically, anyone bitten by a zombie would turn into one. Yet these bodies had not mutated, leaving only one possibility. Someone had killed these people and deliberately transported their bodies here to feed the zombies. If that were the case, then these zombies were no longer mindless monsters that only attacked the living. They had likely evolved a certain level of intelligence. My heart began to pound wildly as I grabbed Alex mid-pack and said urgently, "We need to leave, now, something's wrong here." Officer Kim seemed to sense the danger as well, his expression turning grim, and without further hesitation, we turned to retreat. The moment we stepped outside, we ran straight into an intelligent zombie carrying a corpse on its shoulder. "Run!" Officer Kim shouted. We bolted toward the exit like madmen, while the intelligent zombie froze for a split second, clearly unprepared for 3 living humans bursting out of its dining hall, like a tiger returning home to find 3 sheep fleeing its den. That hesitation lasted only an instant before it dropped the body and lunged at us with a furious roar. As if answering its call, the entire infirmary erupted in howls, zombies pouring after us in a frenzy. We ran, while shoving over shelves along the way to slow their pursuit, and I had never felt such panic in my life, my whole body trembling with only one thought left in my mind. At last, we burst out of the infirmary, where Murad was already waiting on the administrative building rooftop for extraction. Officer Kim told Alex and me to climb the ladder first, while he wrapped a nylon rope lowered by Murad around himself, and using its tension, actually ran up the wall. We had no time to marvel at his incredible agility, and scrambled up the ladder as fast as we could, the zombies already closing in. When I reached the roof and turned to pull Alex up, I screamed in terror as I saw a zombie latch onto the hem of his coat. Never in my life had I imagined zombies could climb ladders. At that critical moment, Murad yanked Alex up with all his strength, while Officer Kim, wielding a military shovel, swung without hesitation and cleaved the pursuing zombie's head clean off, blood splattering everywhere. Alex covered his mouth and retched on the spot, and I hurriedly pulled out the blood-soaked towel I had prepared earlier and handed it to Officer Kim. He walked to the edge of the roof and hung the towel there to draw the remaining zombies away. After that, we didn't dare linger a second longer and sprinted toward the Institute of Life Sciences. I clutched Alex's hand tightly as we ran. every zombie near the infirmary now alerted and chasing after us, while Officer Kim guarded our sides, repeatedly driving back those that got too close. Through tears, Alex cried out while running, "I've been bitten, Amanda. Don't worry about me anymore." I didn't answer, only pulled his hand harder and ran even faster. At last, we made it back to the Life Sciences building. And despite my legs shaking, I immediately checked Alex's injury. In my previous life, the image of him leaving alone after being bitten, waiting for mutation, replayed endlessly in my mind, and I couldn't bear to imagine what I would do if the same thing happened again. Thankfully, the zombie had only bitten his military coat, tearing through the outer padding without breaking his skin. Alex and I hugged each other tightly and burst into tears of relief. After using the medicine we'd found to treat Mindy, his condition gradually improved, and to thank Officer Kim and Murad, we invited them to stay with us at the Life Sciences Institute, where supplies were more abundant and 2 extra people wouldn't be a problem. The 2 of them politely declined, saying they were more comfortable returning to their own doghouse. Once Mindy had fully recovered, we prepared a lavish hot pot feast to thank our 2 allies. In the small room, the rich aroma of spicy beef tallow broth filled every corner, and Murad stuffed a slice of tender beef into his mouth and sighed contentedly. Am I dreaming? Or did the zombie apocalypse never even happen? Alex laughed and added some dried tribute vegetables to his bowl, saying, "Just look out the window and you'll know." Murad immediately raised his hands and waved them frantically. No, 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 let me just keep eating meat. Taking the chance, I finally voiced my long-held question. "Officer Kim, how are you so skilled?" Officer Kim smiled faintly and replied, "I just served in the army for 2 years during my sophomore year, that's all, and after I came back, I still got into grad school with top marks." So this was the world of academic elites, something we ordinary people truly couldn't imagine. Seeing my shocked expression, Officer Kim laughed and said, "When you start preparing for grad school, I can help you review." As I looked at the zombies wandering the campus outside the window, I smiled and nodded. After the meal, as usual, the drone made another appearance to escort the 2 guys back to the chemistry building. That night, the 3 of us squeezed into one bed and fell asleep together, the north wind howling outside and the cold biting, yet our hearts were warmer and more at peace than ever. By the 9th month, after the zombie outbreak, Alex was tending his beloved vegetable garden every day, having grown into a capable farmer who cultivated all kinds of vegetables, not only solving our vitamin needs, but also regularly sending fresh produce to Officer Kim and Murad. Mindy, meanwhile, bared her teeth while doing yoga nearby to maintain his flexibility and combat readiness. I sat by the window, idly fiddling with the radio, which for a long time had emitted nothing but static. Just as I was about to give up hope, a clear human voice suddenly came through. "Attention to all citizens. This is national radio. The nation has successfully developed a special vaccine against zombies, which will be deployed over cities nationwide via artificial rainfall between April 10th and April 15th, 2023. Please take protective measures, wait patiently for rescue, and trust the country. We will soon achieve final victory in this war against the zombies." The broadcast looped non-stop for an entire day. We immediately shared the good news with Officer Kim and Murad, whose excited cheers came crackling through the walkie-talkie. The 3 of us hugged tightly, tears soaking each other's clothes, knowing that this long and painful struggle for survival was finally coming to an end. A week later, several military vehicles slowly rolled onto campus, and after the medical staff disembarked, they began administering booster shots to the survivors. A young military doctor was astonished by the lush rooftop garden we'd grown and even called over her supervisor to see it, while we lowered our heads shyly, since we had indeed borrowed quite a bit of public school supplies to survive. After counting, including us, there were fewer than 30 survivors on the entire campus, though according to the military doctor, that was already a relatively high number nationwide. My parents, having prepared early, also survived the crisis unharmed, and everything gradually returned to order. I turned on my dust-covered computer and was surprised to find that the Apocalypse survival game servers were still online, and as soon as I logged in, Randy messaged me, saying that thanks to my warning, he was still alive, and that once things returned to normal, he would treat me to a meal. We'd been gaming friends before, and although we attended the same university, I had always thought falling for an online friend was embarrassing, so I never intended to meet him in real life. But after living through such a catastrophe, many former worries no longer seemed important. After we were rescued, Alex immediately confessed his feelings to Murad and kept urging me, saying that when flowers can be picked, pick them. Don't miss your chance. Encouraged by him, I finally made up my mind and decided to confess my feelings to Randy. I dressed carefully and arrived early at the campus garden to wait, only to find that the person who showed up was actually Officer Kim. I froze and exclaimed in surprise, "Officer Kim, why is it you?" "Why can't it be me?" he replied with a smile, lightly tapping my head. "Only someone as dense as you wouldn't realize that Randy is me. Isn't that just Jason?" How had I not thought of that? Officer Kim naturally took my hand, and I followed him forward in a daze, subconsciously asking, "When are we going?" "To eat hot pot. I bet Murad that you'd show up, and the loser has to treat." Then he suddenly stopped, pulled a small wildflower from his backpack, handed it to me, and said seriously, "Amanda, I like you. Will you be my girlfriend?" I accepted the flower with a mock look of disdain, though I couldn't stop the smile from curling at the corner of my lips, and said with feigned composure, "Well, since you've asked so sincerely, I suppose I'll magnanimously agree." From that day on, the zombie slaying game on my phone never appeared again.